Hey everyone, it's Julie Hutchison here from Think, Be, Do Leadership. Welcome to this Thursday afternoon, 1 o'clock. And this is going to be an interesting one actually, because I've decided that I want to do like a series over the next week talking about how do we create what I call the team performance engine, a system, a process that we can actually apply to create team performance and be the leader that we need to be in a way that is easy to follow. And in the comments I put, it's easy to do, it's also easy not to do. So for those of you who are listening live, great, that's wonderful. For those of you who are listening on the replay, just think about this. The stuff that I'm going to talk about today is not difficult sometimes. Sometimes it's a little bit tricky and a bit awkward and you've got to put yourself out there a little bit. But it's not always difficult, but it's often easy not to do. And I can't remember who said it, but easy to do, easy not to do. So over this week, what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down what I call this team performance engine. And today I'm going to look at like the overview of that for the next sort of, 15 minutes or something like that while you eat your lunch. So what I would love in the comments, if you feel like it, you can ask questions if you'd like to, or if you want to say who you are and hello, that would be really nice. But I want you to think about, if you had a really great team that was performing really well and giving you the results that you need in your business, or perhaps if you're working in an organization, then how would it feel? Because what I see a lot of at the moment is a lot of people tell me when they come to me and work with me, they start off with, look, I'm doing all the work. I'm exhausted. Nobody hears what I say. Nobody's listening to what I say, or I don't feel like they are. And they're burnt out, and they're tired, and they're working all hours because they're still doing too much. So as leaders, that's not what we want. We should be creating the environment and growing people to be able to leverage our genius of what we do as a leader. So this is your business that you're working on here, and you own this business, and you've got people in the team. You need them to believe in what you believe in and do what you would love them to do, without having to kill yourself over it, and without having to mean that you have to work so hard and you're the one doing everything. We need them to join in. I mean, obviously that sounds really sensible because you're paying them to do that, but it isn't as simple as that, because a lot of the time what we see is that even if you are the leader in your business, or you're a leader in a team in an organization, you're probably still doing too much of the doing work. And that means that you're probably working too many hours. You may even be completely fed up with what you're doing, because it's just too much. And yet maybe you don't even see your family because there's a consequence of that, because you just don't have the time. So you're not seeing the people. And if you're working from home, it's probably even harder because you're not seeing your team. So what we want to do over this next week is to talk about what actually creates the environment. What actually is it that's going to help you? So how do we put this in practice? It's no good just talking about it in theory. And that's the problem with, when we talk about teams and when we talk about leadership, a lot of the time we're talking about theory. And actually, this is all down to simple stuff that you need to do or be every day so that you can actually practically apply what you need to apply. Does that make sense? So if you're listening and I ask you that, just let me know whether it makes sense or not, because that would be useful. Or am I talking to myself? So today what I want to do is share with you some of the concepts. And then for the next week, we're going to be going into each one of these individually. So if you listen today, you're going to get an overview. And if you listen again each week, we're going to dive into how do I actually do that. Okay. So as I said, I'm Julie Hutchison. My company is called Think, Be, Do Leadership for a reason, in that if you don't think differently, you can't behave differently, and therefore you won't get to do differently, and you'll just be doing what you've always done. So there's an element of change, but we want to change how we're thinking first. So let's look at, well, what is it that creates team performance? So I actually am going to try and share my screen now. Hang fire. Let's see if we can share my screen. Yes. I believe I may be sharing my screen. Yeah, so it should look like a triangle with a bunch of sort of circle-ish things around it. And I call this the team performance engine. So if we were to say that the bit in the middle, the triangle, is like a utopia of what we're trying to achieve, I'm going to call that, hang on, team performance. There you go. So I'm going to call that team performance, and that's what we want. Yeah. However, it isn't always what we get. We sometimes get what I might call lackluster team performance. You get a team that are really good at what they do, but they don't always seem to give you what you want. So let's have a look at the 3 things that happen a lot of the time with teams and team performance before we look at what do I as a leader need to do to change that. Okay. So what I see massively when I'm working with individual leaders or with teams, leadership teams in organizations, is the first thing is that this one happens. We wish that people would do something, but what actually happens is they can't do it. They don't know how to do it, and they don't do it, but they can't do it. Okay, so the reason is that they actually can't do what we're asking them to do, which means that perhaps you'll find that you can't delegate it because you've got no one to delegate to, or if you do, they just kind of look at you blankly, and they don't know how to do that. So you can't trust them to do that. Not trust them to nick your handbag, but not trust them to be able to perform what you want. Okay, so there's an element of can't do. So what we find is we end up still doing the work, and the team still sit there, and they're not happy about that either because they've got no confidence. Okay, so then what we find is the second element is they just don't do it. And you might think, well, Julie, is that any different from can't do it? Yeah, it is. So here what I'm talking about is that even though they could do it and they have the technical expertise, they don't do it, or they do it their own way, not your way and not the way you want them to do it. And you may think here, why is it that they're not doing it? Because I know what I want and I know they can, but they just don't seem to get there. Okay, and there's a different reason why this happens as opposed to can't do. So when we're looking at team performance, we have to decipher, is this a can't do? Is this I just don't do? Or is it the last one? And this one is incredibly important, because if you've got this problem, then the reality is that it doesn't matter what you try and teach them or how clever they are, it just isn't going to happen. And that is won't do. There's a choice here. I won't do it because I don't want to do it. Okay, so can't do, don't do, and won't do. Now, often you might think, well, I have no idea any of these. But when we start to delve down, actually, we can start to see, is it they don't know how? Is it that they don't want to? Or is it that they want to do it their way? And there's reasons for all 3 of those. So over this next week, we want to look at, well, let's delve into what those reasons are all about. And you can see around my side, this circle, there are 9 boxes. So there are 9 accelerators of how to actually create that. Okay, so let's have a look at this. Can't do. Well, if we had the opposite of can't do, what we want is enabled people. We want teams that are enabled. They can do. That's what we're looking for. Okay, so it's our responsibility as the leader, whether we're a quiet leader or we're a really loud leader, whichever way we're coming at this, what we need to do is make sure that if we could knock off the reasons for poor performance, it isn't because we haven't enabled them. And unfortunately, what happens is a lot of the time is people disable. Okay, we disable people, and I'm going to delve into a little bit of that. We disable the reason why people can't do it. We don't let them do it, or we don't enable them to do it. We're actually stopping them from doing it for some reason. And then there's this. So the opposite of I don't do it, I don't want to do it your way, is excited to do it your way, excited to be part of the cause. Okay, so we need to change them from I don't want to do it your way, I'm not going to do it because I don't like that way, I like my own way, to actually I really believe in what you've got and I want to be part of it. And so we need to knock off this don't do by creating an excited and engaged team. Now the last one, won't do, I just mentioned that word, went ahead of myself there, is that we need to engage people in ourselves. So this don't do is excited and engaged in the cause, but this one is that they want to be part of the team with us. And you would not believe how many people I work with that start off with their team not engaged with themselves. And what that means is that you find that people just choose to not try their hardest and not do what they need to do, because They don't want to be around the leader. Now, I'm not saying that's you. Of course, you've got teams that think you're great and you're got great relationships. But if you don't have the relationships and you don't understand the people that are working with you, then their choice will be, I'll come to work for the money. I'll come and do the minimum. Yeah, so they can do, and they agree with the cause of the business, but they don't agree with you, or they don't like working with you. Okay, or another leader in the business. It doesn't have to be you. So can't do, don't do, won't do turns into enabled, excited, and engaged. And so what we're talking about here is, how do I actually create the engine that creates that excited, enabled, engaged? Okay, so if we were to do that, we need to enable people through creating confidence. Now, I don't just mean confidence like, oh, I'm really confident general as a person, but what I mean is confident to take risks, confident to be able to do the thing, and confident that you've got their back, that they know how to tick the box of correctness. Because what happens is if they're confident, it means that they will make good decisions for you, or they're capable of making good decisions on the subject. So they can do the thing that you want them to do. I don't know, it might be doing the accounts, or it might be digging a hole. Who knows what it'll be, but that actually they can do it. Okay, so their competency and confidence is there. Now, that's great, but again, I've said, if they're not excited for you or your business or the cause of your business, doesn't matter that they can do it. We need to get the other two. So here, how do we get them excited for what you are, what cause you have? Well, we have to give them some direction, and we have to break that down. And that's what we do. We do it in the Leaders Launchpad, but we're going to do that over the next 9 elements. We're going to break that out over the next week. Okay, I've got something in my mouth there. So how do we give them direction? Well, it's like a boat. If you get in a boat, the first thing, or if they're saying you're going on a holiday, we're going on a cruise, the first thing we say is, well, where are we going on this cruise? Because you don't know whether to pack your ski suit or your bikini if you're going on a cruise, whale watching or something like that, or whether you're going around the Mediterranean or something. So you need to know where is it that you're going before you can get excited about where you're going to go. And so many leaders, what I see is they don't talk about this stuff. They think that it's all about this enabling and confidence to do the thing, whatever it may be, but it isn't just that. It's about getting people excited about how you're going there, where are you going, and getting them to want to be part of it. Does that make sense? Good. Okay. And you can pop in the comments if you want to. So if you get them to really buy into the direction, where you're going, how you want to get there, then great. They believe in the cause. They are then likely to then think, okay, if I make a good decision here, I'm going to do it in the way that's going to take me to, where did I say, the Mediterranean or the Bahamas, where it's going to be. So they know the direction that you want to go in, and they can choose to go there. But so often what I see is leaders actually haven't even discussed this with the team, which means they don't know which direction. So the only way to do that as an employee is probably just choose your own direction. Use your capability and your can do, but your direction is wrong. So you're going off in the wrong direction. Okay, so we choose our own. We run our own agendas when we do that. Now, the last one then, here we go. We need to build trust, because if you think about it, we need to be engaged and to trust, so that when I come to work, if I'm working for you, I trust you to have my back. I trust that you understand what's going on for me. You understand me as a human being, and you create a relationship with me that makes me think I actually care whether or not that we work together, and whether or not we are succeeding as a team. So we need people to want to trust and be part of the group, not just with you, but with your team. And when you get a poor team, often it's because they don't trust each other, or they don't trust the leader, which means they spend too much time worrying about whether they're safe, I suppose is the word, and they don't feel safe, because who does when you've got conflict in your team, or you don't like your boss, or your boss don't like you, or you just think there's certain things that aren't fair. There's a whole load of stuff going on here. So what we need to do is create trust amongst the team and with you and the team, so that when they come to work, they don't just think I'm going to come for the money. They think, oh, I like Bob. Bob likes me. I like all the people of the team. I want to be part of this group in and of itself. Okay. So there's confidence in the role, direction of where I'm going and where the decisions I need to make. And I want to be part of the team. And when you get those three things right, what that means is that then people have the ability, so they're enabled, they're excited for where we're going, and they're engaged in doing it. And it feels good. And you can see that confidence in the team performance oozing, and they just get on with it like a well-oiled machine, i.e. a team performance engine. So as the leader, what we need to do is to put in place these elements. Okay, we need to look at and ask ourselves some serious questions around can't do, don't do, won't do. Then we need to look at, have I enabled, have I excited, and have I engaged my team? Have I given them confidence to go ahead and make decisions and do good work? Have I given them direction? And have I created trust so that people want to be there? So I want you to ask yourself this question, just to think about you in your role. How well do you do these things? What's going on for you as the leader? Let me just take a sip of my drink. Because the thing about being the leader is we can name it leadership, but really what we're looking for is, what's the purpose of leadership? Well, the purpose of leadership is to lead the team to perform. Yeah. And so we think about being a leader, it's all about me. Well, it's not about you. In fact, it really isn't about you, so to speak. It's about you enabling, exciting, and engaging people. If you can do that, then that's fantastic. So what I see with a lot of quiet leaders or more introvert people is that they don't feel comfortable with it being about them because they don't want to be centre of attention. Maybe that's you. But the funny thing is actually, when you look at really good leaders, they don't want to be centre of attention. They don't need to be centre of attention because we put our team at the centre. Because if you really enable people and you excite them and you engage them, put them at the centre of all of this, then you are just the enabler of all of this. It's not about you. It's about your ability to create this and these elements. And in the Leaders Launchpad program, what we do is we break this down and we dive into massive detail over this. But what I want to do today is just this, because we're going to run out of time in a second. But over the next probably 7 days, I'll take a day off at the weekend, break at the weekend. But over that time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in these blanks around the outside. So we're going to go in and do these ones here, because I want you just for now to think about exactly where you are on this higher level, this chunked up level. Okay, so if that makes sense to you, one, stick it in the comments and say yes, it does make sense. Two, message me, say yep, that makes complete sense, and tell me, where do you think that you're good and where do you think that you struggle? Okay, now if you want more information about how we break this down in the Leaders Launchpad, the actual program that I run, which is a group coaching program for leaders who want to grow their impact and influence, then by all means just message me impact, okay, or pop it in the comments below. That's fine. But also you can join the Facebook group as well, which is called Quiet Leaders with Impact. So please feel free to do that. I will pop the link in the comments as well. But every day we're going to, so what day is it today? Thursday. So we're Friday, then we go next week from Monday to Friday. We will be looking at this just on or after 1 o'clock every day. And we will be delving into the other, the deeper areas of how do we create this can do, will do, and do, if that makes sense. So how do we enable, how do we excite, and how do we engage the people in our team so that we show up with the correct influence and impact to create team performance, because that's what it's all about. So I hope that was useful for you. I'm going to stop sharing, she says. Hang on. There we go. Feel free to ask any questions. But really, I put in the comments, this is as simple as this here. You could say you don't ever need anything else, but what you need is, well, how do I actually implement that? Yeah. But think about it for yourself. Think about it for other leaders in your team, if you've got other leaders, in that how well are we enabling people? How well are we exciting? And are they engaged? Because probably if you're struggling or you've got a problem with your team, they may have conflict, they're not engaged, they don't trust, or they're not confident, they're not enabled, or they really couldn't care about what you're trying to achieve because they're not excited. Hope that makes sense. And I will speak to you tomorrow at 1 o'clock, and we will go into the next level of how do we actually achieve that. Have a lovely day. Don't forget to join the Facebook group, Quiet Leaders with Impact. Bye-bye.